Hello everyone, welcome back to the Kirklees Guitar School Podcast. I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. George Loveridge. How you doing, George?
I'm really well, James. I'd love to know, has this week been a rock or a roll for you?
It's been a rock. I've got so much work done in the background for the super secret project.
Ace.
So that's landed on the 13th of November. Keep an eye on the Facebook group, everybody. I've quite a few 12-hour days this week's happened, and I'm really, really pleased with the results. Well worth all the effort. What about your week?
It was nearly a roll. You got an angry voice message from me as I was restringing a guitar, and it snapped two brand new strings while I was restringing it. But I've found some others in a drawer under the sofa. So we're rolling, of course, for that. But it is a rock because I've been here at the school a lot, doing a lot of band work. So it's been a really productive week, as you say. And we've got some nice guitars and tones on the set today. Some nice artwork as well, which sort of hints at what we're talking about, of course.
100%. So what are we talking about today?
Talking about David Gilmour, another of our artist profiles. This is number 3. David Gilmour's been talked about a lot in the Facebook group. I think Pink Floyd is, especially for our listenership, is such a big thing. Everyone remembers where the first time they heard Shine On You Crazy Diamond or Comfortably Numb. It's very much prog rock. There's a lot of pop in there as well.
Yeah.
A lot of rock, but Pink Floyd just, it's a nice thing. It's a good thing to talk about, especially for us guitar players. So today on the show, we're going neck deep, talking about David Gilmour, why and how he ended up in that Pink Floyd. Tone Talk, we're talking about some of his guitars. I've got the auction catalogue from when he sold all of them. Still can't get over that, really.
Yeah.
I couldn't sell any of my guitars.
Was it a charity sale?
It was.
Was it for charity?
He sold his house and raised $3 million for charities once. He's a good guy.
Yeah, it was like the Clapton and the Crossroads auction as well. I've done a little bit of reading into that, but yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Tone Talk, Gilmour's guitars, and then the signature Stratocaster sound. When you think of David Gilmour, you think of that thing over there.
Yes.
James has borrowed it from a collector. Technical focus, signature techniques, what makes Gilmour tick as a player. And then we've got plenty of jamming, plenty of playing for you throughout the show today.
And I think we should caveat with this. We've sort of gone in for the sort of 1973 to 1979 era because we started planning this episode and it's
too much.
We'd have been here for hours and hours and hours. So we're kind of getting all the kind of textbook. When people come in for lessons and the Pink Floyd songs that they want to learn tend to come off The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon.
Wish You Were Here.
Wish You Were Here. Is Animals in that?
Yeah,
as
in
well?
that agreement. It's not like The Division, Bear Law, Louder Than Words, stuff like that came later.
Or even the really, really early psychedelic stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
not even the 60s stuff. We're focusing on the main lineup: David Gilmour, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, and Roger Waters.
Okay, so when did he join Pink Floyd and why? Because he wasn't an original member, was he?
Pink Floyd are a little bit like Fleetwood Mac in the way that a different band existed before. A bloke called Syd Barrett was the lead singer. I think he was quite a character, a bit like Freddie Mercury, a bit outrageous. He was sort of a visionary. Him and David Gilmour knew each other at college in the early 60s. David Gilmour was studying modern languages, a bit like Brian May. He's a clever guy. His parents are both producers. We're both producers at the BBC.
Yeah, I'd seen that, yeah.
So that's why he's always chased all this technology, I'd like to say. Anyway, him and Syd were at college. Syd carried on with his studies. Gilmour dropped out to play in bands. And Syd, unfortunately, had rough mental health even back then, and he suffered a bad acid trip after their first album. So Gilmour was brought in to finish the Soulful of Secrets album, which is very psychedelic. I wouldn't even say it's prog rock at that point. It's just psychedelia. We've just had the summer of 67. It's 1968. That's what they're playing. He was brought in to do that, but I think Gilmour carved a new direction into Pink Floyd because he was a rocker. His first records were Rock Around the Clock, Hound Dog, Elvis, Bill Haley and the Comets. His first guitar was a Telecaster. He was a blues man. So him steering Floyd away, I don't know how he quite managed it, but that's where he started with this band.
And I think the whole prog rock thing, because, I mean, in the research that I've done on this episode, Gilmour does sort of say, we didn't think it was progressive rock. We were never prog rock. And what I think is really beautiful about that kind of era everybody was just experimenting. It wasn't a label. It was just like, well, you know a bit of blues and I know a bit of jazz, and it's this culmination of lots of different genres into a big sort of melting pot. And that's why it really works with, you listen to, and we'll get into some techniques and what sort of really makes Gilmour sound like Gilmour, especially in a lead guitar context. But it's blues through and through.
It is,
isn't it? And it's all really, really tasty blues.
It is.
With that new technology that had sort of developed.
Well, that's it. All the
well.
way through, they were always chasing new technologies. You've got the solid backbeat of Mason on the drums all the way through, calculated playing. They were all just top notch. Richard Wright on the synths. I mean, they had rooms bigger than this just for synthesizers, plugging in leads and modular synths, stuff way beyond our comprehension.
Yeah.
Fab. So that's where he came about then. So we've got to go to the Strat, I think. We can't get away from it. The Black Strat.
The Black Strat. So what makes the Black Strat so iconic?
Think any guitar player gets famous, happens to be playing a bright pink Les Paul. That is their guitar. Gilmour happened to be playing this Black Strat, and that is the guitar for Pink Floyd.
Right then, so you've got the Christie's catalog.
So this Gilmour in 2019, my dad actually went to look at the preview in London, hence why I've got this. I've got a pic somewhere as well. So the Black Strat then. So he always wanted a Strat, but his first guitar was a Telly that his parents bought for him when he was a teenager.
Whose parents are buying them a 1968 Telly and a fuzz box for the birthday? I think it was his 22nd birthday.
Yeah. So this is a 1969, say, or is it 68?
Okay, I've got some thoughts. I'll let you do your bit.
It's according to Christie's, it's a 69 Strat that he bought in 1972. This Strat, it's been heavily modified, but it is the Black Strat is it's the definitive long-time guitar of David Gilmour. But you've done a bit more digging into what he did with it and how he ended up with it.
So my references for this, I've scribbled on a bit of paper, and I'll put in the show notes. There's a great YouTuber called 5 Watt World, who does like video essays on really kind of niche topics. A lot of that came from him. So thank you very much for that. And go check if you want to learn a little bit more outside of what we talk about. Go check that out. So that's the wrong piece of paper. Right. So the Black Strat is a 68/69.
Okay.
It was it was built in a transitional era. Now, the term Trigger's Broom comes to mind. Like the Christie's catalogue said, it was heavily modified. It's believed to be the only original kind of part of the guitar is the body itself.
Okay, so necks, presumably?
It's had 6 necks.
That's a lot of necks.
It's had 6 necks, and the final kind of iteration of it was he had is it Grover Jackson or is it Charvel? It's one of those modders build a load of new necks.
Yes, there's one of those in here that he sold,
Now, eventually, he took a little bit of a break with the Black Strat in the 80s, and Fender built a load of Strats for him.
Sorry to cut, he used a red Strat.
Yes.
That was his primary recording guitar.
So that was one of the first, what they call American vintage reissues. You know my red Jazzmaster?
Yes, yeah.
It's like the 80s equivalent of that, which what they all had in common was they all had the 1957 shape neck. Now, why is that important? Well, the 57 neck on a Stratocaster has a slight V profile in it. And I think he was chasing that. Clapton's Blackie and Brownie both had that neck as well. There's something about that neck that people really like. Now, although saying that, this doesn't seem to have a bit of a V. This is a bit more of a shallow C type. But it was... although it's synonymous with Gilmour, he spent a good 10 years not playing it when he got those guitars in the 80s. So, fun fact, he lent the guitar to the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh, wow.
And it was hung in their Miami restaurant.
Okay.
Above somebody's table, not in a glass case.
Oh, my God.
And it stayed there for 10 years.
Manky.
It was gross, apparently, and they had to send it off back to Fender for recommissioning when they wanted to do the copy of it.
In the 80s, he was launching Kate Bush's career. And he was playing lots of weird, wacky, headless stuff. Again, all in the catalogue.
As everybody was. You look at Gary Moore at that time, he's playing some weird... I think it was just...
New technology. Chasing new technologies that were available.
New stuff. So it's actually the second of 3 Strats. They were all bought at Manny's in New York while they were on tour. Now, there was a 66/67 one in white that was the predecessor to this guitar that was stolen 6 weeks after buying it. So they basically started the tour, bought a new guitar in New York, did a couple of gigs. I think it was in Louisiana, when they were on tour. They got the New Orleans, sorry. They got all their instruments stolen. They went back to New York, bought another Strat, and flew home.
Got the money.
Yeah.
I imagine buying a new Strat now, and then buying a new Strat in 6 months' time.
And then I'm pulling this out of thin air. I will. The guitars were stolen in 1970. So this was a second-hand guitar.
Yes, it was.
When he bought it. And there was a third Black Strat in 1972 with the big headstock and the and this actually did have the original big headstock, but then changing necks. So it was a lot of guitars in Fender's history, in early history. If they're a colour that's not sunburst. Every Strat in that era started off as a sunburst Strat, and then they'd be painted over.
Yes.
It's really common.
Yeah, you see that over sunburst is the colour.
Yeah. Well, that's what's creeping through it. And even though, because it looks red, you'd assume that it was blown over a red guitar. It wasn't. It's just the fact he's worn through the black and the sunburst. And that's part of the sort of layers that make up the sunburst.
Like your epoxy primer sort of thing. Yeah.
So it's got the shortened tremolo arm, which is a really cool little mod. For me, you can get these in 3 lengths. This is the shortest one. It feels a little bit too stubby for my liking.
Whereas this one on my Squire is much
a longer one.
Yeah.
And we also have this switch here. What does this switch do,
So
George?
that is the Gilmour switch, the Gilmour modification. When he was playing on his bridge position, he wanted a bit more depth, arguably. And what that switch does, it runs the neck pickup and the bridge pickup in parallel with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's subtle, I would say.
Yeah, well, this is without. This is the back pickup. This is with.
It's not a humbucker quality.
Yeah, well, we'll try something with a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he was
sound.
running through flanger pedals, delay pedal. He was so much gear, but it was also very clean as well. So that's where that nuance cuts through.
I'll put it on.
That's more Gilmour, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see how much of that sort of shows
Comes
up in
across,
the edit, but it's... I think what's beautiful about this guitar is it's just been a constant. It's never been kind of like sacred. Everything that needed to happen to it to do
get
the
the
best job.
Yeah.
It did have a Kahler installed at one point. That's why I don't know if you can see that on the camera. That actually chipped away some of the body of the guitar to fit a more extreme tremolo system in, and then after a couple of years, they had it filled in and blown and sort of painted over, so that's why you can see that. But this guitar, this one...
So that's a custom shop, isn't it?
Yes, this is a custom shop Gilmour from the... it's one of the first... I think it's one of the first runs that they did. It's a very, very valuable guitar now.
Well, you say valuable. Back in 2019, the Black Strat was guided at $100,000 to $150,000.
Okay, well, we'll see if our numbers match.
It sold for nearly $4 million.
Okay.
It was 3.8, I want to say 3.4 or 3.9, but it was between $3 and $4 million that it sold for.
So knowing you being like Mr. Burns, George, you could have bought the Black Strat and the serial number 1 Strat that he used. Yeah? Should we talk about that one next?
Yes, so he had... Now, we disagree on this. We've been butting heads a while. If you've ever seen Gilmour play a white Strat with a gold pick guard on it, that is allegedly Strat number 001. Or is it 4 zeros? It's 001.
I don't know.
It is one of the first pre-production Strats. It's in this catalogue somewhere. I haven't bookmarked it, unfortunately. Oh, there it is. If I just turn it, I don't think we'll get copyrighted for this. It's an old book. This is Strat number 1, a 1954 Strat. It's 3 zeros and a 1. 0001. Stamped with the neck plate, 0001. Synchronized tremolo, original contour, body finish in a white colour, mounted gold finish pick guard. Yeah, but the serial number is 1028. Scale and length of 15 3/4.
Yeah.
Guided back then at 100 to 150. Again, this must have sold for much more.
Does it not?
No, so this is the guide.
This
is a catalogue, yeah.
Went for. Right, okay. The it's not actually the very, very first Strat. It's the first production Stratocaster. And it was built for... They're undecided as to whether it was built for something like the NAMM show, whether it was built for a music show, or whether it was an employee guitar. Because that was it was
in
more
54,
common in Gibson.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's really interesting about this guitar, and I've been trying not to tell you this, and I'm hoping that you haven't done, as much research on this as
not on this guitar.
On this guitar. Is that guitar?
Oh, right, the intro to Brick in the Wall.
The intro to Brick in the Wall is that guitar. Now, when I play that, it sounds flat as a fart, doesn't it? How they got that sound, they just plugged the Stratocaster directly into the mixing desk. No effects, no nothing. And that's what gives it that choppy kind of...
Is it like Billie Jean, Michael Jackson, straight into a PA?
Yeah, and... What that does is it gives that sort of, and we'll talk about Gilmour's playing in a bit about that sort of funk thing that he does, which is not, you don't think of David Gilmour as a funk player, but I'd argue it's one of his. Could you give us that D minor chord with a little bit of reverb just to show us listeners?
Yeah, certainly.
Can you hear how it trails?
It carries on.
Off.
But that's dead. Whoops, throw my book down. Hey, I saw live here, folks.
There's nothing there. Now, I think he did that on purpose. For that really clean cut, because then when you get into the...
You're just teasing us now with that.
Yeah, it's coming. But I think it's a little bit of light and shade. It gives you the... what's the right way to put it?
Contrast.
Yeah, a little bit of contrast, and it's kind of like it makes up for using so many effects, because effects were a massive part of David Gilmour's
They
rig,
were.
weren't
They were. He used so many. I don't know what he used exactly, but a lot of phaser, a lot of chorus, a lot of reverb. Now, you mentioned Brick in the Wall.
Yep.
He didn't play that there solo on that there guitar.
No, what did he play it on?
He played it on a 1955 Les Paul Gold Top with P90 pickups, hence why it's got that thin Strat sound. So it was a Gold Top Les Paul, but with P90s.
Yeah.
And arguably, I don't know whether it's just what he had lying around, but I think those massive bends, I don't think his Strat was up to the job.
No.
And that's why he was using it.
And you'll see I wuss out a little bit later on when we play some of that stuff. I've got the custom out today because that's just out of what I've got. That's
the nicest
what
LP you've got.
Well, it's just the closest sound that I could get, but I think Gibson guitars have much bigger frets and can give you that little bit more purchase on the string, and that's probably why I was inclined to use it. But it's a lot thicker, kind of fuller sound as well. And I think, it's nice. There's something about those early Gold Tops, because Clapton played one on While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
He did, and what's odd, I mean, in this
I think
picture,
that one was Humbuckers, though, I could be wrong.
the bridge, you probably can't see it because of the lights, but the bridge is offset.
Yeah.
The tailpiece, it's really peculiar. It's not perpendicular, it's on an angle. I don't know what the tonal benefit of that is.
It's just, it didn't last long. They came in 1950, I want to say 52, late 52. They had like a sort of trapeze tailpiece to start with.
That's it, yeah.
Then they went to that, and then they went to the Tune-O-Matic in 1956. And then in 57, they ditched the P90s for the humbuckers.
Well, while we're being nerdy, he bought that Gold Top in New Jersey in 1978.
Did he tell you how much he paid for it?
No.
Oh, I bet
but it was used for the 1979 The Wall album. Yeah, what a cool guitar. Now,
well, I think a Les Paul's part of every guitar player's toolkit,
it is,
you know?
But should we have a quick listen to how another Brick in the Wall should sound?
Absolutely.
On a Les Paul.
Guitarists often ask me, how do I make my guitar sound like that at home? And I've known quite a few guitar players over the years that have spent a lot of money on a lot of equipment to sound like that. And what they'll do is they'll go into Google and they'll go, how does it sound like David Gilmour? And we go, oh, well, you need to buy a high watt, you need to buy a Strat, you need a rat pedal, you need
two compressors.
Yeah. And I think rather than trying to, because it's not what everybody wants to hear. A lot of this is in his fingers.
Yeah, there's something in the sort of introduction to that catalogue. Someone, I think it was Phil Taylor, his technician, saying that Gilmour could play notes in a way that no other guitarist could.
And there's a great interview with Gilmour for the BBC. I think we both watched it. We did discuss it a while ago, where the BBC interviewed him about the electric guitar, and he says it's such a tactile thing, how you touch the strings and how you apply bends and vibrato to those notes, that you kind of, your own kind of fingerprint, to not sound too
No, it's unique. There. John Mayer says this, it's how you bend a note is, he says, literally as unique as a fingerprint. And I would agree with that.
Yeah. And I think people are chasing that sound, and I think it's quite easy to throw money at the problem, but not actually... really listen to what's going on.
All the gear, no idea added, isn't it?
Well, it is. But I mean, it's nice to have nice stuff. I mean, I've built a mock of his rig for bricking the wall here in my quad Cortex.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your Cerberus over there.
I've got some 4 presets dialed in for various songs.
And I don't think they're too dissimilar. It's just what you've got. We were warming up, and you've got your couple of £100 Squire Strat.
That's 12, 13 years old now,
And then you've got sort of the best that money can buy to get close to Gilmour. And it's not 10 times better,
it's
is it?
expensive guitar, expensive amp sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so...
I've gone on a major tangent there.
Yep.
Basically, he's using high watts, big user of high watt amplifiers. He'd actually use 200 watts in tandem and have a third one as a spare.
As you do.
And then, because why not? And then he'd use 4x12 cabinets and lots of volume. And that's my point, why a lot of people don't sound like we're really loud in the room today to try and get some of those overtones.
He describes being able to lean back against the wall of sound.
Yeah. When you've got 2 4x12 cabinets behind you screaming its head off, you can't describe it to somebody unless they experience it. You can literally feel it moving.
It's in your chest, in your stomach, and it feels like there's a metal rod going through your ears out the other side. That's what the noise feels like.
But another thing that he was doing in that sort of experimentation, I can't put together David Gilmour's archetypal pedal board because as the years went on, it did change a lot because new technologies, he used so many different effects boxes. I can't remember what the website's called. Is it Gilmour-ish?
Okay.
I'll put it in there. I'll put it in post and I'll send you it. And it's basically a whole website and community dedicated to dissecting every part of his setup and his tone and his pedals and things. And we'd be here for months going through it all. Last thing on gear before we move on, because we haven't talked about any playing yet. I think one thing that he did really well was stacking overdrives and stacking overdrive and fuzz and combining, not necessarily having one pedal that does one job. He'd blend different effects all together at the same time because you don't think to put 2 overdrives on at the same time or an overdrive. Like a fuzz sounds fuzzy enough without putting overdrive on top of it. But what that'd do is it'd give him those really kind of creamy lead.
I was going to say, it's always clean. It's never dirty, have a cigar or even comfortably numb. Yeah, 2 fuzzes. That's it.
Very, very, very clear and this is a big muff, a delay, and a TS9, a tube screamer, basically, on top of each other, and it don't. But the thing is, I haven't just turned everything up to 10.
It's that refined tone. It's not just the distortion button on your amp at home.
But I think if you pile too much, because what it'll do is the fuzz will create the overdrive, the tube screamer will bump the mids up, which is where the frequencies guitars like to live. Yep. But it doesn't matter how much drive you've got, it still sounds like a Strat, doesn't it?
This is sort of moving on to our Tone Talk part 2 as I build it. His playing is the Stratocaster personified.
Yeah.
You think of all that psychedelia going on, and then you've got... Just take a minute to listen to that again. I remember the first time I heard that, and I just didn't shut my eyes. Shine on You, Crazy Diamond. And then it goes into this monstrous... It is just the Strat, but you can hear there's lots of flanger and chorus and phaser going on there, and delay, and reverb. But you, as you said, you can still hear the Strat coming through. And that's key.
And I think part of that sounds well. Obviously, we'll talk about the Gibsons and stuff in a little bit, but when you think of David Gilmour's funk playing, what do I mean by that? So you think of Brick in the Wall, you think of... But what about... Try not to butcher it too much, but you get that sort of... There's a lot of this...
Very Chic-esque, yeah.
Massive prog rock band from the 70s. You don't think of that stuff. And I think a lot of people focus on the lead stuff, but actually they've got as much to learn for being able to... Because what he's doing is he's sort of making it more percussive. He's adding a percussive element into his playing. Now, those of you that were just sort of on the brink of this coming out, but those of you that are in the Kirklees Guitar School Academy, I do an entire technical focus lesson on how to get that sound in the style of Gilmour. So go check out the Another Brick in the Wall lesson on that.
Yeah.
Because I really kind of go into how do we put those mutes, because it's not actually about what you play, it's what you don't play that's that gives you that. Acoustic guitar was another really big sort of topic on Gilmour's...
Yeah, you have to think that Comfortably Numb, Have a Cigar, or Things from the Wall, and Dark Side of the Moon. He had a lovely 1971 Martin, lovely piece of kit. And that was the guitar he used to record the intro on Wish You Were Here on. Mm-hmm. And even in interviews, he talks about, someone says, well, why did you use a 12-string? And he'll play it, and he'll say, that's why. Because the sound, if you look at the Wish You Were Here album, Shine On You, Crazy Diamond is a 13-minute song. Radio presenters need the loo when they say, and here's Shine On You, Crazy Diamond before the news, and it's half an hour before the news would start. This Martin, that sound is synonymous amongst 12-string guitar players. It's kind of like BS Bingo with 12 strings.
Yeah.
You pick one up in a guitar shop and you play Stairway to Heaven, you'll play Dead or Alive, and you will, of course, play Wish You Were Here.
And I think those kind of... and it's just part of that, I know we keep saying it, it's the sort of experimentation with all the different tools in the toolkit. But I think it's not for selfish reasons, it's always for the song, which I think is really, really important. What I want a lot of people to take out of this for watching today is David Gilmour's playing. It's all really tasteful and it's all for the song, but it was a monster. Well, is a monster.
He could absolutely shred. But I love Pink Floyd for the way that you've got the shredding, and then you've got the quiet, refined song of, say, Wish You Were Here or something like that. Should we have a listen to that one as well? So we've talked enough about what he played. How did he play it? This is why we're all here as guitarists. Mm-hmm. What's he playing? How's he playing it?
So I think a lot of it's minor pentatonic. Mm-hmm. What I think is really interesting about any of the sort of big sections like Comfortably Numb, any of those big sections are really going to be an uncomfortable conversation then with the owner of that guitar. I think what's really interesting about that is, and how he plays, in those big sections in like Comfortably Numb and the end of Brick in the Wall, And that's not just the only solos that he played. It's just our sort of points of reference and what people will know.
Time is another. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah,
that's one of my favourite, believe it or not, solos.
But especially in Bricking the Wall and Comfortably Numb, what I find is the band just vamp on one or two chords. And what a vamp means is you sit on one chord.
So like Bricking the Wall. We had that earlier.
That's going to go on for ages and ages and ages while you've got the... But what that enables Gilmour to do is he can experiment by adding different notes in the scale because you just sat over one static chord. And the possibilities, when you've got only one chord, are endless. People talk about the modes and different scales that you could use. When you're only sat on one chord, you've so many possibilities that you can do. Adding a second chord into that mix gives you a really interesting... It sort of limits what you can play over it, if that makes sense. Instead of having 6 different scales you could use, they might only be able to use 2 because there's a certain chord that brings other notes into the fold. And I think they did that on purpose. But we were messing about with Bricking the Wall earlier, and
I kept moving to a G.
You're trying to find that extra note, and it's actually the bass.
Yeah, it's Roger Waters, sorry, the name escapes me. Moving in the bass line of that solo is good. Moves to a G, but they're still on a D minor chord.
But I think the conversation that nobody's having is, yes, Gilmour's an awesome guitar player.
He's back in his band. Is that what you're going for?
The band, the band were killer.
I'm biased because I know Nick Mason fairly well.
Right.
You can see if these albums are signed by his, strange flex, but okay. Nick's playing was solid, unmovable. Even now, he's in his 80s. I've seen him live a couple of times, and he's still... If you listen to that, the choir sing, all in all, it's just another brick in the wall. It doesn't move.
Okay. One more small tangent, and then we'll get on some lead guitar playing, I promise. That's a 4 to the floor drum beat.
Yeah.
Is that, which is also kind of synonymous with disco and those and that kind of music, which is, what that means is the bass drum, the big drum on the floor is going boom, 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 boom. And that makes people want to move, and it gives it that marching feel about what, sort of helps reinforce what the song's about.
But then you look at Echoes from the early 70s and Sauce Full of Secrets. Those songs on those albums, everyone's doing something different. There's it's in Sauce Full of Secrets, the bass is doing dun 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 dun, and Gilmour's doing these huge sort of dive bombs and slides and stuff, and Nick's doing this incredible piece on the toms, and then Wright's on the synths doing all sorts of alien Doctor Who noises. That's your prog rock. But then within the space of 5 years, nearly 10 years, they're playing disco stuff. Now, Comfortably Bricking the Wall, I might be wrong here, I think that they released that at the end of 79, and it was number 1 from the end of 79 into 1980.
Oh, wow, right.
So they could say they had number 1 across 2 decades.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So when it comes to his lead guitar playing, there's a lot of minor pentatonic work with occasional few fruity notes thrown in. But I think the main kind of takeaway for his audience today is big bends.
Oh, tone and a half bends.
Plenty of vibrato and vocal-like playing. Now, what I mean by vocal-like playing is, could you just give me a vamp on give me a vamp on a D minor, please?
No, we'll do a different rhythm.
Now, I'm going to try and make... If I overplay now... Sounds impressive for about 4 seconds.
Whoa, well done.
Go again, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit some bends and I'm going to hit some notes, and I'm just going to kind of let it kind of sit. Yeah.
I think that's the blues coming in. That's B.B. King to me. Freddie, Albert, all of those guys.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. Less is more. Now, what he's doing is he's putting those sort of like big bends in such a way, they often land on a downbeat, a beat 1, 2, 3, or a 4, most notably beat 1 probably. And because of his tone and his guitar playing, he's got that much sustain. He can hit those notes, and he can just sit there like sort of Parisian walkways. He'll hit that note and he can just sit on it for ages, and there's no, and it's kind of like you can sit there all day because he's got enough volume to keep that sustain going and keep the ball in the air for so long. Now, I think what Gilmour does really well, and what I like to show the brick in the wall solo to students for certain parts, but I think the real kind of learning in that is bending a note and then adding vibrato at the very top of it.
Which is something people struggle. Nice accidental harmony there.
That nice little wobble at the top. Have you got any tips for everybody how to get the
I've thought about this a lot, I started this with a student the other day. Get your vibrato on the ground. We're not changing the pitch. We're just wobbling the note, the rapid movement of a note. Now, the next step, once you've got it on the ground level, be confident in getting to that note, that tone. Now, I want to think of, I'm bending to this note, and when I'm doing the vibrato, I'm sort of meeting it, but I'm never going above it.
Okay.
If that's a visual, sort of like a wavelength. That's the pitch I'm hitting, and I'm just getting up to it.
See, I disagree.
All right, okay.
If you imagine that the note that you're bending to is a line on
you
a
want
graph,
to go over it?
but you're sort of dipping in and out of it ever so slightly.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it.
Yeah, fair
Although,
enough.
listening to you play that sounds far more aggressive when you play it like that, thinking about it like that.
But you said coming out of stuff, I mentioned that time solo. He comes out of that pentatonic scale and it sounds really aggressive.
Yeah.
He plays, if I put another preset on, very aggressive, or stay clean actually. Like from a blues thing.
Amazing.
And another thing he did with his playing, use octaves a lot.
Yes.
He plays one half of time up here, and then all of a sudden he just kicks it up to the 14th fret. Same with Comfortably Numb.
But I think you look at it, and not to discredit his playing either at all.
Oh, here we go.
No. I think this is a compliment, and I hope it comes across that way. Most people listen to those solos and come to see us and want to have a go at them. And
it's inspirational, isn't it?
And they feel like it's difficult, but it's not beyond them, and they'll get there. And we've got a couple of students working through that sort of stuff at the minute. And I think there's some guitar solos that just stand the test of time, and Comfortably Numb is absolutely that solo, where anybody that listens to it, it just makes them melt.
That's it. There's a lot of Floyd that anyone can listen to, that they play in absolute classic rock. And then there's some stuff that, as my mum affectionately refers to it as, not affectionately, she hates it, it's lift music for whales. She calls a lot of it because it's
Is that all the sort of experimental synth stuff?
Yeah,
right,
there's a lot that is a bit hard. I've got an album, the trance mix, and there's 5 tracks on the album, and I once was driving for an hour and I didn't get past track 3.
Right.
It's just, that's cool. If you like that, I mean, so what? If you've got the money and the resources to do it, do it. But you say Comfortably Numb, that opening pinch harmonic to that solo, even before that, There Is No Pain, You Are Receding, that concept song of A and B, I always say to people, Queen had Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin had Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd had Comfortably Numb.
Yeah.
It's their hallmark. When they're all gone, that's what people are going to remember them for.
And I think in 20 years' time, we'll still be teaching people how to play that solo.
Oh, definitely. Well, Johnny Be Good.
Yeah.
Like, everyone still wants to learn that. People aren't necessarily going to want to learn 20 Flight Rock, Eddie Cochran, but people know about it, but it's not hallmark, it's not up there.
It's not up there with Sultans of Swing and Parisian Walkways and all those kind of big guitar songs. I've only ever listened to Dark Side of the Moon cover to cover once. I went through a phase when I was at university of putting records on and then going to sleep. It's the weirdest dreams I've ever had. I can't tell you on the podcast.
I was going to say, was it because you're listening to Pink Floyd or was it the other stuff? Were you doing Pink Floyd things?
Maybe.
But that's it, actually. Nick Mason swears blind he doesn't remember playing on any of Wish You Were Here. He was that stoned, he doesn't remember any of the early 70s.
Having a good time.
Yeah, which if you meet Nick now, he's mild-mannered, some nice classic cars in his collection, very nice classic cars, really nice chap, but he has no idea. Like, he thinks David probably played the drums on Wish You Were Here. But then they were creating this monstrous music. Sadly, it was only Sid that succumbed to their endeavours, and Richard Wright died of cancer in the early noughties. But the fact that they're still here to tell the tale is unbelievable. Like, you think Ozzy did some heavy stuff. These guys were next level, I think. Yeah.
Very good. Right then, so should we wrap up today's show?
Yeah, what a show.
Yeah?
I think there's a lot of wobble, but if you're a Pink Floyd fan, like a lot of you are, we've tried to put a lot of work into this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. It's nice to talk about it, isn't it?
And it's been really nice to learn a lot, because I've always known about Pink Floyd, but I know this is very much your domain, and I sort of give you the keys on this one and let you sort of.
Yeah, I was never into Floyd, but once I listened to Comfortable and Numb, went, wow, yeah, a bit more than wow, yeah. But it was like Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Time, Breathe, the
oh yeah,
and Great Gig in the Sky. I know that's all vocal work.
Yeah.
But certain songs, I'm as clean as a whistle, but I would happily drop some acid to listen to that sort of stuff.
And that's a lot. That's saying a lot for George.
That's a good way to end the podcast.
Very good. Right then. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.